Welcome to another edition of Ask Ron. This is number 6. 6 of these we've done so far. Told you I'd try to get one done before the Olympia, before I took off for Vegas, so here we go. Most of these questions I couldn't figure out who, I can't find who wrote them, so I'm sorry guys. Can't give you credit this time, my bad. When you worked for American Muscle, for those who don't know, that was a show that was on ESPN from 1987 to probably about 99, 2000. I left there in 97, so I'm not sure how much longer it kept going. I lost interest in it. It was a bodybuilding show. It was a magazine style format show. We had contest coverage, profiles, workouts, cooking segment John Romano used to do, gossip. It was a pretty cool show. We'll never see anything like that again on television. You know, obviously on the internet we have all kinds of stuff now. It says, when you worked for American Muscle, were you a chick magnet in Gold's and wherever you filmed? No, I've never been a chick magnet. Come on, get real, guys. Also, by the time I started working for that show at 21, I actually should say when I started working for that show, I was already engaged. 6 months later, in June 91, I got married, so I never put out that vibe that I was on the prowl looking for girls. But I think anybody, especially back then in the pre-internet days, if you were associated with any type of magazine or TV show or anything that could give exposure and recognition to people, that drew attention. And so, yeah, if women ever expressed interest in me, you know, like being flirty or going out of their way to talk to me or something, when I was with a camera crew, I always knew it was just because I had a camera crew with me, and you know, they were hoping to get on the show or whatever. It was never because they were really interested in me. I'm not that delusional to think that they were after me. Especially when we filmed in places, we were there to work. Generally we were shooting male bodybuilders in the gyms. When we shot women, we did shoot plenty of women because the guy that produced the American Muscle show, Luz Wick, also was a producer of an event called the Fitness America pageant. So we would do a good amount of shooting with the women, but that was usually a little bit of gym stuff, but mostly it was outside. We'd shoot them in swimsuits at the beach, at pools, scenic places, whatever. You know, there were some temptations over the years. I worked with that show. I worked for the American Muscle show from 91 until summer of 90. God, I'm getting old. It was 97 or 98. No, it had to be 98. It was 98. Summer of 98 is when I left. I'm going to move on. Training frequency for naturals. Train muscles 1 or 2 per week. So if you're drug-free, should you train your body parts once or twice a week? You know, I've heard 2 completely different schools of thought on this. So here's one. One says if you're drug-free, you should only train a muscle once a week because it's going to need a full week to recover, okay? Another school of thought says you should train it more frequently, twice a week, because it's going to lose some of the gains from that workout by the time if you wait an entire week, you'll have lost some ground and you're going to be taking, you know, the proverbial 2 steps forward, 1 step back. I really think training frequency, training volume, you know, generally speaking, we say that drug-free lifters, bodybuilders, whatever, what have you, serious trainers should train less frequently and with less volume, simply because they don't have the recuperative abilities, the extra recuperative abilities that steroids give you. But there are so many other factors to consider. You know, one is age. An 18-year-old drug-free person could certainly get away with training, and probably definitely should, I would say, train more frequently in terms of how often they train a body part, how often they train in general. They can probably get away with more volume than a drug-free person who's 40, 45, 50 years old, because, you know, their natural testosterone and growth hormone levels have gone way down. Other things to consider too, we're all individuals. Some people can handle and should handle more volume. I've noticed that those who come from strong athletic backgrounds, regardless of whether they're drug-free or not, seem to be able to, or seem to thrive on training more frequently and with more volume. I think it's because they were just used to all those years of, you know, especially if they played something like football or hockey, wrestling, things that had very long, grueling practices, 5 days a week and then games on the weekends. So their bodies were already used to a certain amount of physical work, and for them to carry that over into bodybuilding weight training makes sense. It doesn't make sense for them to do what some from the old hard gainer school would say, just hit a body part or hit a, the far end of the spectrum would tell you you should only do maybe 1 or 2 working sets of 4 or 5 compound movements all in one workout. So basically a full body workout, then let your body rest for a full 48 to 72 hours, do it all over again. Some people would say that's the best. There's no agreement on this. There's not enough studies to prove what leads to the most gains. They've figured out a lot of things about what's more effective for gaining strength, but that doesn't carry over many times into gaining muscle mass. So, personally for me, I don't pay a lot of attention to studies that show, what leads to greater strength increases in terms of frequency, volume, things like that, because I'm not that concerned with strength. I'm really not. I only care about gaining muscle mass, even at this age, when gaining more muscle mass is very, very difficult now because I'm older and I've already put on substantial amounts since I started. So I think you really need to experiment. I think everybody needs to experiment with how often to train a body part, how often to train in general, how much volume, because until you've tried more or less, you're never really going to know which is ideal for you, what gives you the best results. And as you age, as other factors come into consideration, career, family, school, things that may take up more time, you might find that even if you thrived on higher volume and higher frequency earlier in life, that you might have to change that as you get older to still keep seeing results, because it's all about recovery. As Mike Mentzer and Dorian Yates, Arthur Jones before them pointed out, if a muscle group can't recover, and if the nervous system can't recover between workouts, you're not going to see muscle growth. It's just very, very difficult. Okay, so here's one. Top 5 supplements you use and why. I will say brand names because I've been with Gaspari Nutrition for 11 years now. So most of the products I use are theirs, but I'm just going to talk about categories of supplements, okay? Because we have there are other high quality companies. I'm not so blind as to say there aren't. Number 1, protein powder. Protein powder, because we should be aiming for, again, this is up for debate too, but let's just say minimum of 1 gram per pound of body weight. But I tend to tell everyone I advise more like 1.5 grams. So if you're 200 pounds, you would want 300 grams of protein per day divided amongst all your meals and shakes. And I say meals and shakes because very few people have the time and or the inclination to eat 6 or 7 solid meals a day. If you do, God bless you, you're awesome. But that's a lot of food prep, it's a lot of time eating. For most people, it's going to turn out to be something like 3 or 4 solid meals and a shake or 2. I get 5 solid meals a day and 2 shakes, sometimes 3 shakes. I mean, I have a shake in my refrigerator that I get up and I'll take a few swigs from as I get up to go to the bathroom, which is usually 2 or even sometimes 3 times a night. Yeah. So protein powders just make it a lot more convenient to get the protein that you need. And like I said, not everyone has time to sit down and eat. A lot of people don't. If you have a demanding job, a good example is Big Oso on the forum. He's an emergency room registered nurse. He's dealing with, he's in a situation where it's life or death, and maybe it's time for him to eat, but then a couple gunshot victims come in and they need him now. And he can't say, I'll be there in 10 minutes, guys. I need to eat my chicken breast and my rice here. No, he's got to throw a shake down and go. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are in situations like that where you're either on the road a lot of times for your job or you just don't have time to eat. So protein powders and shakes make that a lot more convenient. A pre-workout. Now, not everyone needs a pre-workout. I understand. I mean, I remember Evan Senapani being very clear that he feels you shouldn't need a stimulant or something to work out. If you need that, then something's wrong. I've been using them for many, many years. Before there was such a thing as pre-workout powders or products, I would just drink coffee. I remember in the 90s very clearly, especially when I worked for that American Muscle company. It was a good 20-minute ride through traffic up just to go from Rosemead to Pasadena. So I would make my instant coffee at work right before I left, and I'd drink that on the way to the gym. By the time I got to the gym, my teeth were stained brown, but man, I was ready to go. So I like pre-workouts for the energy, especially a lot of them have things in there now to help give you a better pump. That would be another type of product that I use, but I'm including that. There goes my paper, a little wind picked up. So a pre-workout just gives me a little more focus, a little more energy for the workout. Do I need it? No, I don't need it. I could work out without it, obviously. Anybody can. I just feel I get a better quality workout with it. If you feel differently, then don't use it. Multivitamin, multi-mineral would be my number 3 choice, simply because we don't all, the food that we eat now, unless you're sure everything's fresh and organic and all this, it probably has been leached of a lot of nutrients. So multivitamin mineral is just a good insurance policy so that you get everything you need in your food that your food's not giving you. I'm distracted. My son just let my dog out. I don't know why he did that. Now she's going to start barking at me. Number 4, digestive enzymes. I believe they do help you digest your food better. I do notice a little difference when I use them. There's many brands. I use one from a company called Now, N-O-W. But they don't pay me or anything, so I'm not telling you to go out and use that one. Digestive enzymes, I take one with every meal. And finally, creatine monohydrate. I put that in my post-workout shake, which is whey protein. I also throw a scoop of casein protein in there. I know most people just do straight whey. A lot of times I don't get to eat my post-workout meal for closer to an hour and a half after I train, so I throw some casein in there. And my post-workout, I'll usually have a piece of fruit with that for now, because I'm trying to stay a little leaner. See, there goes the dog. But creatine has been proven. It's one of the few supplements that's been proven. It's been proven by many, many studies to be very effective. This dog is killing me. I told my son, why would you let the dog out? You saw that I was doing this. Sorry, everybody. It is your fault. Okay, last question from Howard. At least I know this came from Howard. He said, I think we'd all enjoy hearing your take on the best judging comparison / pose down you've ever seen live. I've been to so many contests, so many over the years. It's really hard to choose. I'm just going to pick 2 that stand out in my mind. One was the Arnold Classic in 1995. It was won eventually by Mike Francois, who was a hometown guy from Columbus, and it was his birthday, so it was a pretty cool win for him. But Flex Wheeler was in that show, and Flex pushed him very, very hard for the win, and it could have gone either way. Flex was coming back that year he had broken his neck in 94, so he missed pretty much the entire 94 season. He came back in 95 and won the Pro Ironman. I think he won another show in Florida, and then the Arnold Classic was a very close second. Francois they were very different, apples and oranges. Francois was a beast. He was a big, thick guy, had that muscle density, that hanging muscle, the kind of a Dorian-esque physique. He was very, very comparable to Dorian. I think if he had been able to keep competing and stayed healthy for a few more years, he could have pushed for the Olympic title, Mike Francois. But Flex obviously has better shape, aesthetics, just a prettier physique. Condition wasn't 100%, and there goes the train. Yeah, sorry guys, sorry for all this noise. The other contest I recall was the 2002 Mr. Olympia, where a lot of people feel Jay Cutler, that was the best he ever looked. Jay was actually beating Ronnie after the judging. Ronnie was a little off because he had done the Arnold Classic that year, and not being used to peaking twice a year, because as Mr. Olympia, a lot of these guys just do Mr. Olympia and they don't do anything else all year. Ronnie did the Arnold that year because he wanted the Hummer that you got for winning the Arnold Classic. So he had a tough time peaking, and so he wasn't at his best. Jay was at his best. And a lot of people still feel that was the best Jay ever looked, taking second to Ronnie that year. He was crisp, waist was small and tight, wasn't as big and full and thick as he was later, but you know what? It was a great look for him. He was just so sharp, crisp, just fresh looking. Even 2009, where Jay's condition was arguably better, it was at the same or maybe better. the lines and the shape and everything weren't quite the same, you know. Nobody's body stays exactly the same year after year. And, a lot of people felt Jay really had Ronnie on the ropes, and, you know, just as we've seen in many Olympia contests, yeah, it didn't go Jay's way. It went with the reigning Mr. Olympia. So that's it. That was today's Ask Ron, last one I'll do before Vegas. So hopefully I'll see some of you guys out at the Olympia. I'll be with Giles and Jordan Bleckman, Steve's son. If you see us walking around, say hi, and hope to see you guys there. Thanks for watching.